Welcome to Happy to See Me. This is a special episode. If you are watching this on YouTube and you physically see us, I am in studio and I am with my little sister, Krystle.
Hello. Happy to be here.
I am happy to see you too. And it is my birthday this week. Well, not actually this week, but by the time you listen to this, it is my birthday week. And we are having a special episode where we are turning the tables and I am answering your questions. So thank you so much to all of the people who submitted questions for me. I tried not to look at them really in depth. I just sent them over to my sister. So she's the master of ceremonies today, and I will be answering your questions. Have you always wanted to learn more about me, Krystle?
I think I know a lot about you as it stands, but it's always great to learn more.
Probably too much.
Yeah, probably.
Probably you're like, you don't need to text me every detail of the day.
Yeah, but I like that we keep in touch like that.
Yeah.
A daily FaceTime is always necessary.
Sometimes twice daily.
Sometimes twice.
And always in a compromising position.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Wow. Would you like to kick things off? Or actually, wait a second. Do you want to tell them something about you?
So my name is Krystle. I'm Erika's little sister. I'm the youngest of the 4 kids in our family. I like going to concerts, hanging out with my friends, and sitting at home quietly.
Perfect. So if you love sitting at home quietly, which you might be doing as you're listening to this, Krystle is your girl.
Yes, absolutely. But this episode is not about me. It's about you.
I love that.
Yeah, I know. Big birthday for you.
I know. Yeah, lovely 34. That's how old I am, right?
Yeah. How do you feel?
Young. When I was younger, I thought that people in their 30s were so old. I remember when I was going to PR school, so I was 21 when I went to PR school, there was a guy in my class who was 26, and I was thinking, wow, he's so old. Now he and I are still good friends, and he's in his late 30s, and I can't believe that I thought that 26 was old.
Yeah, time has flown.
I'm still quite youthful.
Yeah, in my head, you're perpetually 26, which is interesting. That's your permanent age.
And am I a good 26? Am I a 26 who's confident, or am I a 26 who doesn't have their shit together?
No, you're a good 26.
Okay.
I feel like you've always been a confident 26.
And at this 26, what does my hair look like?
Oh, it's not purple. Which is actually a great way to segue into these questions. Because there's a ton of questions about your hair.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so the first question is, would you ever change your hair color?
I think eventually I'll change my hair color, but I don't know if I see myself doing a crazy color other than purple. I feel like purple feels very authentic to me. And if you listen to the Mystic Michaela episode from a few weeks ago, she said I have a very purple aura. So it makes sense that I want to have purple hair. I believe eventually I'll have a natural hair color. To be honest, by the time the purple fades and you see my natural color, it's going to be more gray than dark brown that I would like. But eventually it'll go back to normal.
Yeah. I feel like actually a question we got earlier from your friends on Instagram was, what was my favorite hair color you've ever had? And I have to say, it is the purple.
Yes.
But they also asked what my least favorite hair color that you've ever had was. And I have to confess that it was when you had red hair.
Oh, that was awful.
It was tough. The color itself wasn't bad, but the cut was rough.
Oh, this was my emo phase.
Yeah.
It was, no, you know what? It was like emo meets Kate Gosselin.
Yeah.
But red. So yeah, it was awful. I looked like an angry little boy.
Yeah. we can leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to a couple more questions that everyone asked you. We had a lot of people wishing you a happy birthday. So once again, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And a lot of questions were actually about you moving. So how is the moving going? And did you buy a house?
I did not buy a house. Unfortunately, even though I publicly came into money thanks to reality TV, that is still not enough money to buy a house in Toronto. So I have not bought a house. I would love to buy property eventually. Now is just not the right time. So I ended up moving into a condo by myself where I am renting. It's actually my first time living by myself. So it's been so fun. as we're recording this, I am in the middle of moving. So I have just come from my new place where I've been taping down the measurements for the different furniture that I want to put together. So it's so fun in that way in terms of moving. But then also, I don't know, I also like had to set up the Hydro account and I had to make tough decisions about whether or not I could buy the things that I want to buy. So it's fun, but it's very adult.
Yeah. And another question we got about where you're currently living is, do you think you'll always live in Canada or will you move somewhere else in the future?
I get this question a lot because so many people think that I'm going to end up going to LA or New York or something. Love New York. We were there. The two of us were there a few weeks ago. But I think that, honestly, I love living in Canada. Toronto really feels like my home. I think that eventually I'll end up going somewhere else, but maybe it'll be for a work project or to complete a contract. But in my fantasy world, I'll always have a home base here in Toronto that I'll come home to.
Nice. So we also got a lot of questions about your new podcast journey. So you've been podcasting for the better part of this year.
Yes.
And we've seen Happy to See Me go through many phases, including the in real person, in real life phase. So someone asked, what's it been like leaving the 9-to-5 world and turning to freelancing?
I'm so happy I left the 9-to-5 world. There's so much I love about it, like the flexibility. I feel like now my work schedule is so weird where during work hours, I'll go off and do something else, but then I end up working really late or I work on a weekend or I work in between doing fun things. And I have always been great with managing my time for the most part and working hard. So I don't mind the flexibility and being self-directed like that. I'd say for anybody I talk to who has had a 9-to-5 job and then they've switched to freelancing, it is not for the faint of heart because sometimes it's scary. There are definitely the feast and famine moments. I've experienced them where I have 1 month where I am working almost every day. I have gigs booked on weekends. I'm going hard. And then I've had situations where I have a month where I don't have anything booked. And then that's when the intrusive thoughts of what am I doing with my life? Should I have gone back to an office job? Am I cut out for this? All of those things creep into my head. But then the next month comes around and then I'm booking work and then I'm busy. So you really have to be okay with the ups and downs of everything. But I think that I also, after having had a 9-to-5 job and a corporate job for the last 10 years, I got really restless with the monotony of going into the office and doing the same project over and over and over again. So I think that I like the risk and the fun of doing a lot sometimes and then freaking out the other times.
Would you say that the feast and famine that you mentioned was the hardest part about podcasting, or what to you is the hardest part?
Ooh, okay. I love podcasting. I have had so much fun asking questions. I love asking questions and getting to know people. I've actually ended up becoming friends with some of the guests I've had because I've had so much fun talking to them and hit it off with them that now we hang out and we text and we're cool and we're buddies. I think that the hardest part about podcasting, it's almost like there's two tracks that you have to really maintain. And both of them ask a lot of you because one is the consistency because it's a lot of work making sure that you're always securing guests, you're always recording, and then working with the editor, doing everything you need to do to make sure that there is content every week. So there's one track, the consistency of keeping the show going. But then there's another track of how do you evolve and grow the show, where you start to think about, okay, how do I reach new audiences? How do I evolve the way that I talk about the show or brand the show or meet new partners and figure out how to increase the quality of the conversations and the quality of the content I'm putting together. So being in maintenance mode and growth mode at the same time, plus me working all these other jobs, that's the challenging part.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And you mentioned being in growth mode. So a question I love that was submitted was, what have you learned about yourself from doing the podcast?
Ooh, what have I learned about myself? I think it has been a lesson for me to have less self-judgment and be okay with things that are not perfect. Because when I worked in PR, for some reason, when you work in PR, you think that everything is such high stakes, that everything has to be the most perfect press release or the interview that you prepare for someone needs to be perfect, or the presentation you do needs to be perfect. And I think there is a level of having to maintain a certain level of quality in all the work you do. But with podcasting, I know that for each episode, I give my 100%. I do my research. I try my best to be a good host and answer good questions and try to be a good partner to the different people I work with who edit the show and put it together and distribute it. But at the same time, I feel like I am a lot nicer to myself knowing that this is my first year undertaking this project. I've never been a journalist before, so I'm nice to myself in terms of the questions that I ask. I'm nice to myself in terms of the production of things, and I know that it's something that I'm doing every week. So I tell myself, okay, I have to think about what I'm proud of for one episode and then think about what I want to improve for another episode. And I just try to work on that for the next episode. But I'm not worried about making everything perfect. I know that it's always a work in progress, and it's okay if I just become a little bit better every time.
Yeah. And I know that your audience and your listeners are excited to see you grow and change with Happy to See Me. And we actually got a lot of recommendations for different podcast guests. Erika has seen them. I will not spoil who you've recommended in case they show up here in a future episode. But I wanted to ask you, who is your dream podcast guest?
Okay, so I have 2 dream guests because a lot of people know that I interview a lot of reality TV people. So from the reality TV world, the one guest who I really want is Isis Couture, the winner of Canada's Drag Race Season 2. For one, I feel like almost like this affinity towards her because she won Canada's Drag Race the day after my Survivor finale aired. So we've been winners for the same amount of time. Plus, just watching her on the show, she clearly so talented, such an amazing queen, and also struck me as somebody who was so kind and knew her boundaries. A few months ago, I had Michaela Couture on the show. So Michaela was on Call Me Mother and on Canada's Drag Race. And Michaela is Isis's drag daughter. And the way that Michaela talked about Isis, she really supported her beyond just what we saw on that episode of Canada's Drag Race when Michaela was on as the makeover. But she just strikes me as a very, very kind and introspective person. And with her leaving Canada's Drag Race versus the world, she showed that she's not afraid to respect her boundaries and do something that might not look like it makes sense to other people, but it was the right thing for her. So I would love to talk to her. I will be honest, I have tried hard to get her, and I know that she is very private, as she deserves to be, and it's not really her thing to do interviews like this, which I totally respect, and I think that that's part of her having strong boundaries. But if she ever changes her mind, Isis, I would love to interview you, winner to winner. So that's my reality TV fantasy guest. My second fantasy guest, I would love to interview Domi Shi. So Domi Shi is from Disney Pixar. She's the creator of Bao, the short film that was based in Toronto, and Turning Red, so the Disney Plus movie about the adolescent girls who are obsessed with the boy bands, and we hear about their Asian families and their emotions cause them to turn into these red raccoons. I guess that's the animal that they turn into. But there's something about the way that she tells a story that really validates and legitimizes the experience of being a teenage girl in a way that I hadn't really seen before. Because so many teenagers, not just teenage girls, they are fans of things. They feel emotions. They feel complicated feelings towards their families. But when I was growing up, whenever I would see that talked about, it was in a way that, I don't know, made them seem crazy or like their experiences and their emotions weren't valid. But seeing the way that Domi tells those stories, one, I get to see something that I experienced being told in a respectful way. But then it's also in a way where when you see yourself reflected on screen, it almost sets you free. And she really had that ability to set so many of us free. And I would love to talk to her more about her approach to storytelling.
Nice. We love Domi Shi.
I've actually slid into her DMs too because I thought, okay, why not try it? I have a blue check mark. You never know who will respond, because I've had people who I never thought would respond to me respond. So I don't know. It's still not read, but it's there. She could read it one day.
Yeah, we're manifesting it.
Yes.
It'll happen.
I would love to write a story with Domishi.
That would be amazing. I would love to see that.
So Domishi, in case you're a happy to see me listener, let's write a feature film.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so we've talked about your present and we've talked about a little bit of the future and what we hope to see. But the big questions were all about your recent past as the winner of Survivor 41. However, we're going to take a little bit of a break before we get into those.
Okay, let's do it. And we're back. I guess this is the big one. This is what everyone wants to know about. And I hope that I can deliver.
Yeah, we had an influx of questions about Survivor as expected. And the first one that I want to ask you is, what's it like being my fave Survivor winner in the new era? And I actually didn't submit this question, but it does hold true for me.
Well, if I wasn't your fave, I would be pissed.
I would. That's so not okay.
Imagine you're like, no, I love Jam Jam. And also, Jam Jam's great. No disrespect to Jam Jam, but I would be pissed if you liked Jam Jam better than me.
Don't worry, it's you.
I mean, he's a close second.
Yeah.
Well, being anybody's Survivor fave is such a weird concept for me to wrap my head around, because I had watched the show since I was young. I have faves. I actually got to interview Todd, who is my all-time fave. That episode was from a few months ago, and I remember freaking out. I was so happy being able to talk to him and being able to hear Todd say that he loved the way I played. He was a big fan of me. It was just such a real surreal moment. The other thing is, I know when I was on the show, they talked about how it's the dawn of a new era, drop the 4, keep the 1. So I just thought, okay, this is this weird gimmick thing for that season. But I guess now all of the seasons from 41 onward are currently being bulked together as the new era. So I guess I never considered that I would be part of an era of Survivor. So yeah, it is. It's weird, and it's weird, but in a good way. And I am still so flattered that anybody considers me to be their favorite anything. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's wild too, because there was a question asked of me wondering what it was like to watch you on Survivor. And I say this all the time. It was one of the most incredible experiences.
Oh my God.
Not just for me, but for our whole family. And I think it's because when we were young, Erika all the time would say things like, oh, when I'm on Survivor, I'm going to do this. Or when I'm on Survivor, it's going to be harder. And I remember one day when I was in university, you called me out of the blue and just went, when I'm on Survivor, I'm going to invite you as my loved one. And then if we have to do a challenge, this is how we're going to do it. And it was just completely out of the blue. But those are the types of conversations we would constantly have. So seeing you in the context of the show and even watching the first episode, seeing you do the marooning, solve the puzzle, it absolutely blew my mind. And seeing you kind of go through the phases and experience the whole season and win at the end of the day was incredible. And I'm proud of you for a lot of things, but that is going to be a huge one always, because it was a moment where we really saw that you can put your mind to something and you can achieve it no matter how grandiose or out of the box it seems.
Thank you. Wait, I have a question for you.
Of course.
When you were watching me on Survivor, was there a moment from the season that really stood out to you, and why?
Yes. So I think the biggest moment that stood out to me was a moment that I think stood out to everyone watching the season, and it was when you were sent to exile. And I think that was a very special moment for me, not just because you talked about our family and you showed different experiences and there was literally photos of me on the TV.
Yeah, baby Krystle's on CBS.
Yeah, that was outrageous. But why it was so special to me was because growing up, I always saw you as this powerhouse, and anything you wanted to do, you just attack it. And it seems like there was nothing that ever shook you. But there was one moment when I was watching the episode where you're getting sent to exile. And I remember watching it because we were watching it with our whole family in this bar. And I just thought, oh, she's really scared. And it was a moment where I thought, it's okay that you're really scared. And it's, to me, was very beautiful to see you in this vulnerable light, because I always saw you kind of attacking the next challenge and not really wavering at anything that I would consider scary. So to see you scared, but to also see you face something and to see you triumph and build the fire, not us crying.
I know.
That to me was absolutely incredible, because it didn't just speak to Erika, the little beast. It spoke to Erika, the person who's not afraid to be vulnerable and to share that vulnerability with not only just like me and our friends and our family, but the public at large.
You know what's crazy? I was so afraid of that episode airing, because I know that once I got there, and yeah, I was so scared to go. It's hard to describe. It's terrifying to find out you have to live on an island by yourself. So I was so scared. I remember I was freaking out because they gave me this jar of water and I thought that was the only water that they were going to give me. So I was like, oh my God, I need to find clear running water. And I'm actually panicking. And the producer had to pull me aside and say, no, we'll still give you water. It's just, we can't build a well because you're only here for 2 days. So you're just going to like drink it out of this jug, but we'll actually give you water. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But I just remember crying and being very vulnerable in that moment. And I talk about it a lot in actually episode 1 of this podcast. But I know that I talked so much about the way we grew up and our family. And I remember coming home thinking, oh no, did I say too much? Did I embarrass my family? Did I talk about our experience in a way that could be shameful or could, embarrass them? It's hard when you talk about struggles. So I remember going to the bar, waiting for that episode, and I was so scared to see how everyone was going to do. And they I remember the show cuts to the commercial break, says I'm going to exile, and everyone is gasping and looking around. My mom's freaking out. I'm telling my mom, it's okay, I lived. But then afterwards, our dad, who's just like a little reserved, like sweet little nice man, when the show ended and I was thanking everybody for coming to the viewing party, and I said, and thank you to my family, our dad got up and stood proudly and he waved like he was the queen. And it was so nice to see that what I thought was going to be such a scary and potentially embarrassing moment ended up being such a proud and validating moment for our family. And then I've had so many people who have grown up as immigrants. I've even done public speaking where I've talked to immigrant women and we've talked about that moment and we all would always cry. And yeah, I think I didn't realize that scary moment ended up being so validating for the experiences of so many people.
Yeah, because I feel like it was very honest. And, at that point too, I feel like that's a story and a perspective that we didn't traditionally hear on Survivor in that way. And another question we got that I actually love, and it really speaks to the idea of, you talking about your upbringing on exile. Someone actually asked, what is a traditional Filipino value you believe must be preserved or passed on to future generations?
This is hard because I don't know the name of the value. Actually, Dr. Kevin Nadal talked about it on the episode I did with him, but I don't know how to pronounce it. It was like kopya, but it's the family value.
Oh, I thought hopia was a dessert.
No, hopia is but it's like kopwa. I can't. I understand Tagalog, but when you ask me to speak it, I struggle. But I think that there's something nice about how we value like the family getting together. And I would have never said this when I was younger. I would have been like, no, screw this. I want to be by myself. But I think that now as I get older, and also after having gone through the experience of Survivor and having the support of my family, I think it's so nice that we prioritize spending time together during holidays. And there's still that built-in respect in Filipino culture. I think it's like the baseline level of respect is probably a bit higher than what we're used to in North America. And there's so much more respect for our elders and stuff. And who knows, maybe that seems like a bit traditional, but I like it. I like that respect for each other.
Yeah, we love an honorific.
Yes, we love an honorific, but you never refer to me as your ate.
No, never. And unfortunately, that's not going to change. But it's fine. So to round off the Survivor questions, we have to talk about your Survivor bestie, Miss Heather.
Oh, yay.
So someone asked if you could tell us more about your friendship with Heather and maybe any other Survivor friendships that you've made over the past couple of years.
Heather is the best. And if you ever told me that I would go on Survivor and have a ride or die bestie, I wouldn't have believed it. Because I would have been like, no, I'm just coming here to play and win some money and then head out. And that it was going to be this woman who is 20 years older than me and lives in the South and has always lived in the South. And went on a plane outside of the US for the first time the year before she did Survivor. I would have been like, really? Like, on paper, I don't think you would have ever expected that Heather and I would be so close. But she and I have remained really good friends. We talk about so many things beyond just Survivor. And I think that a moment that really stuck out to me when I was playing the game, when I was exiled, I was so scared. And I went through this life-changing experience and I came back and Heather just gave me this big, long hug. And, everybody else who I saw when I came back, they were all like, hey, let's talk about the game. Let's talk about this, whatever. Heather gave me this long hug and she was like, I missed you and I'm so proud of you for doing that. And I felt like I met somebody in this game who loves me and who I love. And it's clear that friendship has gone beyond just the game. In terms of other people, so a lot of people don't realize this, but Deshawn was my second closest friend in the game. We were actually really close. The relationship wasn't really shown on TV. I think because it was so weird and so complicated, because I think Deshawn's impulses when playing the game made it hard for us to be really solid as allies. But he and I really connected right away. And I think Deshawn and I were the types of friends we'll always be able to talk about our feelings and always be able to talk on that other level where we know there's going to be the built-in trust. And even though there was a phase where many of my family and friends, as expected, hated his guts. Actually, there's a phase where I hated his guts. I think he and I are always going to have that close bond.
Yeah, for sure. And even, since it's your birthday episode, to throw back to last year on your birthday, Heather and Deshawn actually came to Toronto to celebrate your birthday with us. And it was so much fun. So even though, Deshawn did what he did, he was really fun. And he was very kind.
Yeah, there was a cute moment when Deshawn hugged my parents. And Deshawn was like, oh, I'm really sorry about everything. And my mom was like, it's just a game. I'm like, oh, we were able to move past it.
That's so funny. So the last question of the Survivor questions is actually a question you get all the time. On the street, when we're together and a fan runs into you, on social media. And it is, would you ever play again?
Ooh, I get this all the time. Ooh. Well, I feel like I'm going to disappoint people. I just don't see myself doing it again. And it's because I had always dreamed of doing it, and then I did it, and everything that I wanted from the experience, the boxes were checked off, and then some. And I just don't think that there's anything that I want more from the experience. And there are sometimes I think, okay, if they called me and I'm in a good mood, could I just impulsively say, yeah, why not? Let's just go for another run around the track and see. But the thing is, the experience of getting ready to film Survivor is so long because casting lasts for so long, and then pre-production lasts for so long, and then once you actually get to Fiji, there's also pre-production things you do before you start filming, like taking the cast photos and doing interviews and all of that stuff. So it's actually the better part of a year before you actually are on the marooning and you're filming the episode. And I just think, I don't know, I just think at some point in that process, I would be like, what am I doing? I don't want to do this. And I think the other main thing is Survivor is very hard in many ways. It's not just the eating or the starving rather, and the playing the game. And then there's challenges when it comes to the show airing, which I know I've talked about in the first episode. But it's really hard, and you really have to have that fire in you to keep going and to push yourself to make sure that you are lasting another day. And I think that since I know I've already done it and I've had that experience, I just don't see myself having the same fire for Survivor, unfortunately. But at the same time, I never want to say never. I never want to be like, oh, I'm never going to go on. And then who knows? They call me for an all-winner season in 15 years. And I'm like, why not? I'm ready to do it.
Mhm.
So I never want to say never. But just right now, I don't see myself saying yes to doing it. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that disappoints everyone. But also not sorry because I'm just doing what's right for me.
Yeah, living your life. Is there any other reality show you would consider being on?
Ooh, I get this a lot too. I think that I don't want to say no to reality TV forever. Right now, I think the only way I'd do another reality show is if it's so different. Like if it's not Survivor at all, I don't want to have to play the social strategy game of, making alliances and voting people out. So I don't think I could see myself doing Big Brother or anything. I think I would do another show, again, if it was just so different and I could have a totally different experience. So I don't know. Something that's still competitive, but lower stakes. Like, I don't know if I would ever get asked to be on the show, but I would do a Dancing with the Stars. Not that I can dance, but something like that where it's competitive and low stakes. Or, I don't know, a baking show where you're not good at baking and that's the gag.
Oh my God.
But yeah, if it's something totally different, hit me up. And also, if it's to host a reality show, I will do it. I don't care. I will, not that I would take Jeff's job, but I would host a Survivor or a show like that in a heartbeat.
So now that we've wrapped up Survivor, we know where you are in terms of reality TV, and maybe we'll see you again, maybe we won't. But I wanted to move on to some rapid fire questions.
Ooh, okay.
Because we had a couple fun ones come in from your Instagram followers. So the first question I have is, when are you coming home to the Philippines?
Oh, I don't know. I thought that we were going to go as a family at some point. I think that was my fantasy.
Yeah.
Because I've actually never been back to the Philippines. You have. You've gone back a couple years ago.
Yeah, I went when I was 14, so quite a while ago. If we do go back, it'll be a very different trip because I will not be literally in the 9th grade. But hopefully we can go as a family. I would love that.
Yeah, I really want to. And I thought that was the fantasy that we all go back.
Mhm.
And then at the beginning of this year, our parents were like, oh, we're going just the two of us. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, what? When they went back for our dad's high school reunion, they were like, no, it's just for us. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So guess we'll have to figure out another time to go.
Yeah, very iconic of them to just go. But
I
at the
know.
same time, I really want to go too.
I know. And I was ready to be like, okay, family, I just won Survivor. I'll pick up the flights or something.
Mhm.
But our parents were like, no,
Yeah.
we're going to do it. But I did trick them into letting me buy the flight.
So true. Okay, so the next one is, what is your favorite Filipino food?
Ooh, this is hard. Okay, so I think that classic, obviously, lumpia.
Mm-hmm.
No one can ever say anything wrong about lumpia. It's actually the perfect food.
Yeah, she is top of the pyramid for sure.
Highly. And then I think, okay, I don't know if you would think that I would say this one, but halo halo.
Wow.
So halo halo, for those who don't know, it's like a dessert. It's like a cold ice cream dessert, usually served in a tall, more slender vessel. And then there's different layers of shaved ice. What is the creamy milk? Condensed milk, red beans, ube, chunks of gelatin. I know gelatin sounds gross, but gelatin, coconut. Sometimes there's a cherry or like a whipped topping.
Mhm.
And in Tagalog, hala, oh my gosh, my pronunciation is so bad. Hala means to mix.
Yeah.
So hala is about mixing. So you have all of these layers of deliciousness in this tall, slender vessel, and then you take your spoon and you mix it up. And that's what makes it so fun.
Mm-hmm. And it is so good.
It's so good. But it's also messy. And I also never have a single ingredient on hand. I don't even think I have the right cup. So I never make it for myself. But if I go out to a Filipino restaurant, I always order it if it's there for dessert.
Yeah, it's honestly the best. So the next question we have is, what is your favorite TV show and who is your favorite fictional character?
Oh my God. Okay, I can't say Survivor. So, you know what? A show that will watch over and over at any moment is Broad City.
Oh my God.
I just think it's so smart, and also just the theme of friendship as love. Like, I loved the way that that show ends. I won't spoil it, but I love the way that it ends, and I think it actually is a very realistic look at friendship and how people change in friendship, and friendship has to change, and it's okay. Who is my favorite fictional character? Oh my God. The first character that popped in my head. Okay, wait, who do you think I'm going to say?
Is it a cartoon or is it a real person?
It's a cartoon.
I have no idea.
Oh, wait. Give yourself like one extra second to think about who my favorite cartoon character would be.
Is it a BT21 character?
No. Oh my gosh, it should be.
Does that count?
They're
fictional.
Not real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not real.
I mean, BT21 is a line of characters that the members of BTS designed, and I love them. No. Okay, wait, no. I'll let you have one more guess for who you think is my favorite animated fictional character.
Is it Ariel from The Little Mermaid?
No, but she plays in the same
Oh my God, I know.
Who is it?
It's Moana.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
In my mind, I think I am Moana.
Yeah. It's actually serious.
And the Moana soundtrack, there are times when I'm working out and I'm, picking up something heavy and I'm listening to I Am Moana and I'm trying to hold back tears.
Yeah. It's just not okay. The emotional depth and weight of that song is too much for children, frankly.
I know. I've watched that movie so many times and I've cried so many times. And if I watch it with a child and they're not crying, I'm like, get out of here. You don't understand. You haven't had enough life's hardships to understand why this song is important.
Yeah. Like, were people not traumatized when they were 5?
I think we all are.
Yeah, I do. Okay, anyway, moving on. So now we've reached the K-pop section.
Oh, my favorite.
Great highlight in the questions here.
Yes.
So someone actually asked, for someone who wants to try getting into K-pop, where would you suggest they begin?
Okay, I think there's 2 entry points. 1, because BTS is my alt. Alt in K-pop is the expression of like your ultimate group. So it could be like your ultimate group, your ultimate favorite K-pop member, but you don't have a favorite in K-pop. You have a bias. You have your ultimate bias. So BTS is my alt. So I think actually right now BTS has made the job easier for us because last year they released an anthology album called Proof, which is kind of like the essential BTS listening. So if you want to get into BTS's discography, you can listen to Proof because you'll hear music from the last 10 years. And if you want to understand more about BTS, watch the Carpool Karaoke with James Corden and BTS because that is how everybody gets into it. So just watch it and then just let the journey unfold naturally. So if you think you're more into boy groups, BTS and Proof and Carpool Karaoke. Now, if you are interested in girl groups, definitely the easiest way to get in is Blackpink. They've been doing so much in North America. And I say watch any of their Coachella sets. So either their Coachella set from this year or even their Coachella set from a few years ago. I got into them through their Netflix documentary, Light Up the Sky. So I'd say Coachella set first for music. And if you want to get into them more, get into their documentary. Because I think I've also watched that documentary so many times.
Yeah, we love that documentary. It's so well done.
And we quote it all the time.
Yeah, and it's another crying documentary.
Yes.
So be prepared. But I think those are great entry points for boy groups and girl groups.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then we had another question. So someone asked, do you like Blackpink? Yes. Duh.
Yes.
But do you like New Jeans? And what is your favorite song by them?
I love New Jeans. So I love New Jeans. Ooh, my favorite song. It's hard because they have 7 or 8 songs?
Yeah.
And all of them are perfect. I don't know how they do it, but all of them are each so fresh and so easy to listen to and so fun, even if you're not a K-pop fan. But I think my favorite New Jeans is Oh My God.
Same.
But I can say, I know so someone asked about Blackpink, someone asked about New Jeans, but my favorite girl group, LE SSERAFIM. I think after BTS, LE SSERAFIM is number 2. I'm a Fear Not. So I think I go ARMY then Fear Not. And the concept of LE SSERAFIM and how it's being unapologetic about who they are and they are tough and they are edgy. I love them. So if you want my other girl group recommendation, it's Anti-Fragile by Le Sserafim.
Yeah, so good. And Le Sserafim also has a documentary. There's so much K-pop content, but their documentary is spectacular.
I also cried during their documentary too.
Same.
And some of the parts I didn't understand because the translations of that I was watching were weird, but then I cried and then I looked up what they were actually talking about, and it was one of the members standing up to the record label because the record label was telling the girls they needed to lose more weight, and one of the members was standing up for them, and she was like, "No, we don't all have to get put on a diet." And I was like, "Ah, she's just looking out for her girls. They're being unapologetic about who they are."
Yes, we love those girls. This question's a bit of a read, I will say. But someone asked, how could you not afford Twice concert tickets after winning Survivor?
Okay, number one, a single ticket was $734. So yes, even though I have enough money to purchase it, I have to think about, is it worth spending $730 for one concert ticket? And I think Twice is amazing. They are iconic, but I'm not a once per se. I'm a K-pop fan, and I know that they are one of the best K-pop acts in the world. And those girls kill it. Their music is so strong. Choreography as performers, they kill it. So I wanted to go as a K-pop fan. But as someone who wasn't a once, I just wasn't willing to spend $734 on one ticket. And also, that's just so expensive.
That is so expensive. It was outrageous. But was the show great? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Krystle went,
Yes.
and I did not.
I did go. It was amazing. I loved it so much. We don't have to get into it. But
I know.
it
I'm
was
really
incredible.
upset I still didn't go. But honestly, good for them. Good for them for selling out 2 Toronto shows.
Yeah, they're amazing. Okay, so now we're getting into the final questions. These are a little bit more heartfelt,
Oh
a
my
little
gosh.
softer than our K-pop convo.
Okay.
So, do you have any goals planned for the future?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I always have goals. And for some reason, right now, I'm like, what is the specific goal? Because I feel like I've done so much this year.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Like, I've actually done so much this year. So I think my goals for the future, I think that one is more career stability. But then another one is I need to book a big trip. Because before Survivor, before the pandemic, I used to travel frequently. I think because one, I could travel for work, and two, since I was working so much, I just needed to travel in order to escape. So I was always doing these big trips. Now, since I'm working for myself, I actually, even though I have the flexibility to go on a big trip, I just haven't booked one. So I really want to go. And then another goal, I just realized my personal trainer will love that I'm going back to this. But I've had 2 fitness goals. One is to do a pull-up, and I've been working on this for years, and I'm getting really close. And 2, it's to push a car.
Wow. Please tell us more about that one.
Yeah. I once saw a video of Brie Larson pushing a car when she was training for Captain Marvel. And so, fun fact, back pre-Survivor, whenever I would work out or do something hard, I'd always tell myself during that really tough moment, oh, it's going to be harder when I'm Survivor, so I can push through this and I can push myself physically and do something. But now I've done it, so I can't keep relying on that same motivation. So now I always tell myself that I have to push through something difficult because of my Marvel superhero car pushing training. And in order for me to push the vehicle, I have to be able to do this. So apparently it's easier than I think to push a car, according to like every dude who I've talked to about it, because there's less resistance, because if you put it into neutral, at least like it's meant to move. But yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah. So actually the next question is, what's something you've never done that you want to do? And I think it's push a car.
Yeah, push a car. I would love to be 5'5", but I don't think that's ever going to happen. And then is there anything else that I want to do that I've never done before? I don't know. I feel like there's not an unattainable thing. I feel like everything's attainable except the 5'5" dream.
Yeah, that one's tough.
Shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, so to round out your birthday episode, the final question is, what were your highs and lows of the past year, and what is your proudest moment from the past year?
Oh my.
Of Miss Erika at 33.
Wow. Okay. Highs and lows. I mean, I think I'm very fortunate that I've had so many highs. What even happened since I turned 33? Oh my God. I mean, freezing my eggs.
Oh, yeah.
Something I always wanted to do. I did it. I'm so happy that I shared it on social media and I was able to connect with different people that way and hear so many stories from other people with uteruses talking about their own fertility journeys and being able to create connection that way. And then plus for me, now the pressure's off. Now I can go off and just live my life. And I know that that option is going to be waiting for me when I'm ready. Freezing my eggs was really big. Even honestly, something that I'm proud of was starting this podcast. And I had always been interested in podcasting. Even I remember back in 2019 when the Raptors were in the NBA finals and I was at a bar for hours with a friend because we were, staking out our spot to make sure we could have a good spot there. So we were just like spitballing podcast ideas for me. So I'd always wanted to do it. But the first episode in particular, I recorded it right after my season of Survivor aired. And I was so honest in it. But then I wanted to release it, but unfortunately, for different reasons, I was not able to release it when I first recorded it. So I sat on this file for the year and I would listen to it periodically. I would question whether or not anybody would care what I had to say a year later. I think that I pictured every nasty thing someone could say to me about that episode. I could picture people saying, you shouldn't have done that, or no one cares, you're not relevant anymore. Or I pictured people saying, no, you just made all of that up. That's all in your head. You're actually boring and that's why you didn't get screen time. Or, why is Erika still trying to get attention now? I just pictured everything mean somebody could say about that episode. And I was thinking, okay, do I really want to revisit this? Is it worth it for me? Or should I just move on? But then I just knew that that was something that I really wanted to say and share at the time of recording. And I thought, okay, there's probably at least one person who would get something out of this. So when I released it, I was actually so scared the day that I released it. And then I ended up getting such positive feedback from people and hearing that it helped them to feel better in their situations when they felt like life was not fair to them or when they felt like they were being overlooked or there were forces that were working that were unfair to them. And even I've had other people from other reality franchises listen to it and tell me that they were so happy that I was able to capture the weird nuance of being on reality TV and how they hope that people who work in production listen to it. And I think that it was such a high for me because I went similar to Exile. I did something that I was so scared to do, but then through being brave and doing it, it ended up creating connection with people. Mm-hmm. And then a low. What's a low? Honestly, I think that I try to share, like the highs on social media, but people don't realize like there's still, even in my world, there's still so much rejection. It's not like, oh, I win Survivor and then people are banging on my door and they want to do all this stuff with me. There's so many times where I pitch people or have the meeting or I'm in the running for something and then for whatever reason, it's like, oh, nope, sorry. It's not you right now. And you really have to build a strong backbone to know to not take it personally and to keep going. But I've heard so many more no's than people would probably imagine that I've heard over the last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with both the highs and the lows, what is your proudest moment?
Ooh, my proudest moment. I think it's moving. Right now I'm in the process of moving, but I think it's moving because I had been living in the same place for the last 10 years. Obviously, it's somewhere where I'm comfortable. It's somewhere where I know what the limits are, but I'm excited because I'm willing to, it's like your home base. It's like the root of everything, but I'm willing to say, okay, let me just move on to the next thing. And through changing my roots and changing my home base, I know that changes every other part of my life and it opens up hopefully all this new opportunity. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the risk and do that and just accept whatever comes. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it feels like a fresh start for 34.
It really is. And I still can't believe I'm 34. I still feel like I'm honestly 26, except with purple hair.
Yes, 100%. But that wraps it up for all the questions.
Oh my gosh. Wait, I know that there were questions for you. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Would you go on Survivor and how would you play it?
Okay. So many people ask me this. Every time our friends are together or if Erika runs into someone on the street, they ask me. And the answer is no. So I am not a Survivor girl. It's a lot being outside in the heat. And everyone asks, like, how would you play Survivor? And I think that if I were to be on Survivor, I would get injured so quickly so I could get medevaced and then go home. Because I just cannot, the base route is surviving. I could not survive. So as much as I would love to say like, oh, I'm, the little lion cub that could also do it, I think that is not for me. So I would not go on Survivor. And people always ask, would you do blood versus water? Imagine us together on Survivor. No.
No, that's it. It's just my whole flying under the radar thing. No, it would not happen. Because they'd be like, you need to tend to your sister who got another sunburn.
Yeah, exactly. It was too much. But can I talk about this?
Yeah.
Where I do wish I could have been involved in Survivor is, as I mentioned earlier, I was going to be Erika's loved one, given the, season play out in a more normal way than the conditions of the world at the time. And that's where I truly would shine. Like, I would practice jogging out of the jungle. This has never been shared ever, but I actually submitted a video that my parents and our family created that was of me essentially saying, hey, Jeff Probst, this is how I would jog out of the jungle. And this is what you're missing out on because XYZ production thing where we couldn't have family members, for obvious reasons, come to Fiji. So that is something that exists that I hope no one ever sees.
I was going to say, like, if you write in the comments that you want to see it, if we have enough, maybe we'll do it. Okay.
I don't know about that.
Maybe the next birthday special?
Yeah, maybe next time. But just know it does exist. And I did do it because that is truly where I would shine on Survivor. Is jogging through the jungle and just being like, my sister means everything, and crying on the beach. That's where I would sit comfortably, but not being a contestant.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Well, who knows? Does this mean I have to go back for another run around the track so you can run out of the jungle?
Would it still be me?
Yeah. I mean, since you're recording this episode.
Oh, true.
It's my thank you for you asking me questions today. It would still be you.
Okay, so maybe this is not the last time you will see both of us together on a camera.
Uh-oh. Okay, but I don't know if I'll do it again.
I know. We can't promise you anything, actually.
You're on camera right now, so.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So, Krystle, thank you so much for asking me questions. You're a lovely host.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
And thank you to everybody who submitted questions. Honestly, they were so good. And it's actually nice to see that people were interested in the rest of my life. So thank you. And I will continue to share with you. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And you can find the podcast both wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. On YouTube, it's at Happy to See Me Pod. And the podcast is on Instagram at Happy to See Me Pod. So please follow us there. And Krystle, do you have any last words for my birthday episode? That's it. She said no. That's it. We're done. We're out. Podcast done.
Yeah. My final words are congratulations on everything over the past year. Happy birthday. And I can't wait to see what the next year brings you.
Thank you. That's nicer.
Thank you. Bye.
Yay, we did it.